So welcome to lesson number 4 of this free 5-part video course series on the strategy of salary negotiation and how that can help you grow your career, or rather your income, throughout your career. Today's lesson, we go through the three main stages of successful salary negotiation. Just a quick introduction and recap. In lesson 1, we learned how valuable negotiation would be to you in your career and how you can use negotiation to grow your salary. In lesson 3, we went into the 6 hidden truths that nobody will tell you about salary negotiation, and we even did a calculation that can help you grow your salary 10 times throughout your career. And then we also looked at one major benefit of negotiation and how it can double your salary within a very short period of time. In lesson 3, we went to the actual meat of this course. How do you calculate your value? And we looked at the two main reasons why employers will give you a raise. So in this particular lesson, we go through the three key stages of negotiation, as well as in addition to that, as usual, there's going to be a practice exercise at the end of this particular lesson. So make sure you stay till the end, because the idea of you learning is to practice and to use it in your life, and you can use it immediately. So go over this lesson and then do the practice exercise, which will not take you too long, 20-30 minutes, and you'll be good to go. So my name is David Karanja. I am the founder of Crane Consulting House and the course creator of this particular course, this free course. So let's jump into the three stages of salary negotiation. A quick overview. The three stages will look or seem pretty straightforward, but there's a lot that you need to do through each of the stages so that you're successful in your negotiation. So very quickly, stage 1 is the preparation for the negotiation. Actually, from here on, you'll hear me talk about the raise conversation. So the negotiation process is the whole process from preparation, and then I'll show you on stage 2 rather, that's during the raise conversation, as well as the last stage of follow-up after the negotiation. The raise conversation is when you actually have the conversation with your boss about your salary. However, there are things which you need to do before. There's a way you need to present how valuable you are to the organization during that particular conversation, and there are things which you need to do after the conversation, and that's the follow-up stage. These three key stages are very important to go through so that you're able to be successful in getting a raise in your company. These stages, I outline them in a full course, which is the salary negotiation mastery course, which I'll share about in lesson 5. But even if you do not do the course, this free course that I'm sharing will be very helpful in getting you or in helping you get a raise. So you don't need to do the full course, but the details of the full course I will definitely share in lesson number 5. So let's jump into the three stages in a little bit more detail. So this is the preparation stage for this salary raise conversation. The raise conversation, like I said, is that actual discussion which you have with your boss about your salary. So this is the period from when you decide to ask for the raise to the time you actually ask your employer for an appointment with him or her to discuss your salary. There's something you need to know, that you have to ask for an appointment to discuss your salary. You do not just appear randomly from nowhere without your employer knowing. They have to be prepared, and I will explain this, and it's actually going to work to your advantage. It helps you if you approach your employer when they are prepared, and you have to do it correctly so that it can increase the chances of them agreeing to have this raise conversation with you. It's also the time from when your employer says yes to that appointment to the time when you actually have that conversation. So preparation begins when you prepare to ask for the appointment, and the next thing you prepare um, to show your value during the conversation from when you've been given the appointment. So it's very critical. You do not just spring this conversation to your employer, because that's one way that can secure failure if you just do it randomly. So you have to prepare. So there's steps which you need to take. How you prepare, you need to meet your employer at the right time. And like I said, ideally, your employer should be ready and comfortable enough to discuss your salary. And the good news is, because you are the one who has taken more time to prepare for the salary raise conversation, you'll be readier than them, and therefore you increase your chances of getting a raise. This is what makes stage one, this preparation stage, a very important stage for you. So what do you prepare for? You prepare for several things, but I'll highlight the critical ones here. One, you show the value you have to the company, and we looked at that in a previous lesson where we discussed the two reasons why employers will give you a raise. So here you show that value that you established, and then you have to have a target number. How much more of a salary do you want to have? So you prepare for that. The next thing you have to know is how to handle objections. So just because you've gone with a good presentation, don't expect that your employer is going to tell you yes immediately. They will have some objections, and you need to know how to handle those objections. The next thing you need to do, you need to rehearse the actual raise conversation. You have to know how it will go, the steps that it takes. You have to present your value, and you take your employer through why you should earn the salary. The next thing is, how will you handle the objections? So you need to know those objections, and I have actually found 12 common objections. And because this free course is this course is designed to be short, so that it gets you thinking and moving into the direction of salary negotiation, I won't go to all the 12 objections, but I will share a little bit more in lesson number 5 about this. So you have to rehearse this, what the conversation would look like before you get there, and this will really help you in the next stage. And the other thing you need to remember is, just because you've have a good presentation, there are different outcomes, and we'll discuss that in the next 2 slides. So you need to prepare the different outcomes of that salary negotiation conversation. The next thing we have is the actual raise conversation. So how do you handle yourself? You have to handle yourself right. You have to keep your emotions in check. You have to be professional. So you need to know how to go over this particular conversation professionally. You have to structure it right, and there's a way you present your value to your company, and it's a step-by-step way of presenting, and then you finally make your ask for the raise, and you give your target number. How much more do you think if it actually gets to that level? The other thing, of course, like I said, you need to know how to respond when one of the objections comes up. There's 12 common objections that I have found, but then there could be any others. But the more you prepare, the better and easier this conversation will actually be for you. There's another thing that actually comes up. One thing is a counter offer. You go and you have all these, you have a well prepared presentation, but then your employer decides to give you a counter offer to what you have asked for. So you need to know, how much can I take? How much will I accept from the employer? And this is an important thing to know before, and knowing before will actually help you during the actual raise conversation. So a quick note is, sometimes your employer's initial reaction may seem or may be negative, but that doesn't mean that you will not receive a raise. The more you prepare, like I said in stage 1, that will go a long way in helping you turn a negative reaction into a positive reaction. So it's very important to be well prepared, and you take about a week or 2 just preparing for this particular conversation, and that can make a change for your life. So the next stage is the follow-up stage. So so basically, I said there are different outcomes, and the general ones are yes, no, or let's discuss later. So you need to know how to handle each of these outcomes, because how you handle each can also cause you not to eventually get the raise. Okay, so the yes might come immediately, the no might come immediately, the let us discuss later, which is more or less likely to happen is so you need to prepare. That might also come immediately. So how do you handle each of these scenarios, right? So immediately after this conversation, you need to know what needs to happen next. And I'll give you one very important professional tip. If you get a raise during that raise conversation, you must have it put in writing. I have seen people who imagined they have a raise. Actually, the employer said, yes, you're going to get a raise, but it was not in writing, and therefore it was not effected. So it has to be a new contract or an addendum or a letter that is attached to your original contract that outlines your new salary. And your finance and HR departments should be aware of this new deal that you have. This is a very important thing to do. Do not take the word. If your company has contracts, do not just take their word for it. Yes, you respect and you trust your employer, but you have to have this written, because when it's written, it means that it has been approved by the whole organization, and even maybe your employer and your employer's employer or employer's boss has approved this. So it's critical that you have it in writing. So in the next lesson, which is the lesson number 5, we're going to go to the 2 major mistakes people make during the salary negotiation process. These are very, very major mistakes, and they cause people to fail during that process. And then after that, we'll just take a few minutes to take you through the full salary negotiation mastery course. And this is to help you know that there's a way that you can also grow your skills. But like I said, these 5 lessons that I'm sharing with you are still going to go a long way in helping you move to the next level in terms of getting a better salary. So as usual, like I said, there's a practical exercise, some homework. So you need to be able to calculate your target number, and we talked about this in the previous lesson number 3, where we looked at the 2 main reasons why employers are going to give you a raise. You need to also start figuring out within your company, what are those objections that you anticipate your boss having. You need to write this down, because you know your organization. So you should know, ideally, if I go and talk about a raise, what is my boss likely to say, and how am I likely to react as well as respond professionally to my boss. This is very important. So take about 10, 20, 30 minutes. Actually 20 to 30 minutes is perfect for you to do this calculation for your target number, and also list the potential objections that your boss would likely have to you getting a raise. This is critical, and this will help you as you prepare. And so I look forward to seeing you in lesson number 5, where we discuss these 2 major mistakes. So as usual, if you have any questions or comments, please email me on learning@craneconsultinghouse.com. Once again, my name is David Karanja. I am the course creator of this salary negotiation mastery course. So I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.